Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel IndigoAngel. Come on into this dimension and come on into a discussion with my dear friend Sethicus. Many of you already might know him. He's been on my channel a few times now, and we've gotten into some pretty deep discussions, some deep esoteric research. And I think between the both of us, the thing that we kind of share in common is we have this scorpionic shared energy that allows us to really go to, I think, the depth and the core of what's going on within, all of the mind control tactics, all of the bio-spiritual psychological warfare, and just all of the really dark things that happen, and what kind of goes on within duality, and then what kind of goes on even beyond that within like the deep shadow realms and the purgatory realms, and just like, all of this madness and craziness that occurs. And so between us, we kind of like to really figure out what's going on and bring things up to the light. And so you are a controversial guest on my channel. I'll be honest with you, Seth,
Good.
because
I'm glad I'm controversial. I'm fine with that.
yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And that's one of the reasons why I like bringing you on, is because, you speak your truth and there is a fearlessness within the way you express yourself. And so for some people that's piercing, and for others it's refreshing. So, it's kind
Well,
of,
isn't that how it is with Scorpio? You either like us or you don't. If you don't, we don't fucking care. Because
yeah.
we're good. We're good. We're good unto ourselves. And it's not a matter of recourse in terms of trying to be popular. This is about the truth. And in terms of that particular disposition, like we dig past the surface of a lot of the current narratives that people are clinging on to almost literally for dear life because of the challenge that's being brought forward in terms of the reality field that we need to fucking evolve past a lot of things. And we're the type of individuals that do not leave any stone unturned. And it's not just to take my word for it or anybody else's word for fucking anything. Don't be a sheep. Don't be a fucking retard. Look into these matters for yourself and develop a passion to want to know the actual truth. I'm not into opinion and theory and speculation. As far as anything that I present on my platform, I make damn sure that I can back up everything that I'm getting into. But having a discussion about different ideas and things that we can speculate upon, I'm fine with that as well. Um, but there's a lot that you want to get into today as far as planetary weapon systems, and I think this is going to be a really good conversation. So,
And that's exactly what I mean. Like, we're going straight to kind of the beast machines and the earth weapon systems that are working against humanity, and that's the topic of discussion for today. There are some recent current events that I wanted to bring into this discussion just briefly, just to kind of help people tie into how we tie these things into what's relative. So currently the Vatican News, Vaticonia News, has recently issued that they're revamping their manual books on how to approach their Bloody Mary apparitions and sightings, and how their bishops and their priests should handle these situations. They're basically bringing forth a new protocol about how to handle when people, I think, have demonic attacks, when people have, I call it a demonic attack because I think if a bloody figure of a Mother Mary is coming forward, this is clearly a
but
negative
they worship the dark goddess, correct? The Vatican,
on so many levels.
right?
Yes. Yes. Explain that for everyone watching today. Like, explain what you know maybe about the Vatican and why there is this unrelenting satanic curse that seems to follow this religious belief, and the reversals.
Because it all goes back to the Sumerian Draconian Empire. The whole fucking get up in terms of the religions of the trifecta have their roots going back to what instituted the systems of domination and control in this realm, not only for that purpose, but to tear us away from our roots and hijack the womb of creation itself.
Mm.
Okay.
That's
That
yes.
that gave birth to the dark gods and the parasite and the AI and all this shit that is now manifested in our realm because the original grids that are lighting up not only within our templates but the earth grids themselves are beginning and have already started to route this shit the fuck out of the reality field. And so in terms of triangulation factors, when it comes to the controversial discussions in terms of belief systems, people don't know where the fuck this shit actually came from because they don't know the occult. And even more, they don't know who the fuck they are, having been cut off their ancestors and all of these different things that I touch upon in terms of my platform. It's very clear as far as what's been revealed to me, and I can back up what I'm saying as well. So people want to go into arguments
Mm.
about which religion is true, which system is fucking true. And that's exactly where the fuck they want all of you tearing at each other's fucking throats while they're laughing up in their high towers and you not know the difference in terms of
They're high towers.
how your own fucking mind has been weaponized against you. Let's
Yes,
just go there.
yes, 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 yes. Um, well, and this brings us back to planetary weapons and modification systems because of the frequency fences in the command control centers and how they're controlling the underground Nibirian crystal bunker bases. And they've kind of tapped into
Antagonistic
a
core.
dark crystal. They've tapped into a dark crystal programming, which I think has programmed dark crystals in people's brains and dark crystals in people's DNA. And so there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of spiritual technology that's working against us. Frequency
You mentioned
sensors
the
being one of
crystalline
them.
technology. Okay. You mentioned the crystalline technology. This has everything to do with the crystalline Syrian bees in context to the AI. Okay. And what a lot of people don't understand about factions and all this different kind of crazy shit that you can uh, definitely speculate upon. But when you have actual fucking experience, right? The crystalline Syrian bees are worse than the reptilians and the draconians in terms of what
Explain that a little
they're
bit
capable
as well for the viewers watching, because the crystalline Syrian bees, these are actually considered to be the dark priest of Atlantis. Is that correct? Like these are the
Dark
ones.
Atlantean warlocks. It does go back to that
Okay.
crystal wars and all that fucking shit that is alluded to. And well, another thing that people need to realize is that unless you know how to access the true history and Amente itself, you're just dealing with parchments here on Earth. You're dealing with fragments that are in books and all this other kind of stuff. Now, we have the Black Earth Library, but I take people through the process of potentially being able to access the true records and the codes and all of these different things that are necessary that need to ignite from within the templating of the individual. You know what I'm saying? It's that you're not just dealing with surfaces and triangulation factors all over the realm, and then it just fractals out on itself and keeps things in a fucking loop, and nothing evolves past a certain point. Okay, it's to keep it going. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what the watchers need in order to sustain, right? So, anyways, a lot of things I could say, but yeah,
So the Syrian bee, they are they're kind of at the crux of maybe the beginning or the expansion of a lot of this planetary weapon and modification system development because I
yeah.
mean,
This has nothing to do with the ancient Syrian B codex templating. This is crystalline in terms of what we're getting at. So AI technology, all this different kind of stuff. Now it's being amplified in the reality field because the power was basically traded over to them, and people don't understand that the old world order is going the fuck out. Okay, and that's all the stuff that's been exposed. It's been getting exposed, especially the last 20 years. But what people don't understand about the agenda is that a lot of the things that are coming out and people are co-signing and wanting to advocate in the realm are all a part of the real New World Order agenda, the New Dawn agenda, and that's going to pull everything into this AI timeline trajectory. Do you understand how this is playing out?
Yeah.
This is because it's all being exposed. But people don't realize the true agenda. They don't give a fuck if we know about them at this point. All I do know is that a lot of people are going with it, and they're probably going to go with it, not knowing the difference. Because again, they don't know the occult, they don't know the game, they don't know the game that's being ran on their minds, and like I said, their mind being weaponized against their very soul.
Well, and we can take examples of this. I mean, just looking at North Korea as an example, I mean, there are many things that the Willy Wonka, that the dark elites, that, the government, whatever name we want to use for them, but they have weapons, they have control tactics. I mean, they have ways to suppress through mind control and propaganda. Looking at North Korea, just did a deep dive on that.
Mhm.
All the people there are completely,
That's
under
their
the most
culture.
extreme psycho-spiritual warfare that
That's their culture from birth to death. You know what I'm saying?
the propaganda is just so extreme, though. It's so intense that, they're not allowed to actually get information. So it's an information war. It's a consciousness war, and those that are in control know how to put blockages on the information we're allowed to get. I mean, to think that we're not suppressed here in the United States just because we have access to a cool.
That's bollocks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're being inundated. We're being controlled. Our algorithms are being controlled. I mean, you've been struggling. You've been fighting against it. Maybe tell
Oh
everyone
yeah.
what happened to you
Oh yeah.
recently with your Facebook.
Yeah, the recent events that have unfolded, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but they can't fucking stop me. That's the fucking point. And I'm not going to relent, and I'm not going to quit just because you get hit. You got to get up and you got to hit back, and you got to keep going. Otherwise, get the fuck off the goddamn field. You don't belong on the front lines of this war. Okay, and listen, it's a lot fucking easier to deal with an enemy with swords and shields and even guns and bombs and angel fire, whatever the fuck, versus actual psychic warfare, and you don't even know where the fuck this shit's coming from, and you're just getting fucking nailed. You know what I'm saying? You can't hone in, you can't track it
Well, and this is
unless
the problem with
unless
negative
you're
ET.
trained to do so. And this is where it's really happening because everything else is an after effect of the actual cause point to what we see manifesting in the reality field. And most people live in the realm of effect. Do you understand how that operates? They don't understand the cause for a lot of what does manifest in the reality field as far as planetary weapon systems and the things that are being used
Oh, yeah.
against us.
Honestly, the what we're discussing today, I mean, this is very advanced ascension sciences and knowledges. So, I mean, the basic common person isn't going to understand what planetary weapon systems are. Um, Maybe just to give anybody watching who maybe for the first time, um, so our planet is basically equipped with formidable weaponry. We have Armageddon systems, we have diabolical doomsday devices that are capable of wreaking a lot of chaos and devastation to our planet. And these are really tangible threats that lurk beneath the surface of our planet, and within secret societies and within secret central intelligence agencies within the dark military. Everything that they're basically using to use things against us to, stop us from getting knowledge, from getting information, getting growth, getting exposure. We believe that we have this freedom of speech here in the United States. But I mean, even that is corroded and it's hijacked, and there's a lot of limitations within that as well, because it's almost like a negative ET black mafia that will kind of like come for you, and it is a technological warfare in the ways that they could hit you with technological weapons and delete your computer, or do whatever. I mean, there doesn't have to be a warning, you know what I mean, type of thing. Like, it's kind of like that's something we've talked about in
Well, let's
Gridwork
talk
Safe
about some of the
Community.
symptoms that can happen to an individual when they are actually getting hit. Okay, and I'll share some of them with you as far as what I've experienced. I've been paralyzed, I've been muted, I've been pinned the fuck down, energetically speaking. Okay. Another vicious way that I've experienced attacks is by getting fucking darted. Okay. And it's literally like getting ran through by an energetic spear. And it can hit at any point, it comes out of fucking nowhere. Sometimes I'll get hit with the brainwave frequency
Mm.
pulse wave, I'll say, and it causes my vision to go fucking blurry and all this different kind of shit. And this is why we need to know how to fortify our fields in terms of energy frequency and vibration, because a lot of these weapon systems that they obviously are inventing and then putting out there are everything to do with energy frequency and vibration. Okay.
And
And
that's really ultimately what the Montauk experiments were
well,
ultimately.
it's silent weapons, silent wars. It's not obvious. It's subtle too, to make the individual docile, to make them apathetic, to make them just not give a fuck about the truth in general.
Life in
Just go
general.
with the fucking narrative. You see what I'm fucking saying? Or whatever their family says, because they're programmed to the fucking hilt and they need to be accepted and loved, and they can't separate from the fucking bullshit. And I never had an issue with that, even since the time I was a child. It was very difficult to, because we naturally uh are drawn, to that tribal unit. This is how we are as humans. This is a part of our genetic makeup. And that's why tribal codes are so fucking important. But all of it's skewed, all of it's given over to multiple
But
subcultures.
one of the things I've been seeing as part of the Metatronic weaponry
Yeah.
is that and because I actually do feel that there is a positive AI and a negative AI, and that it
Well,
has
listen.
crystal programming.
Here's the fucking kicker. We haven't even seen the fucking AI yet. All of this that people are saying is AI. It's not AI. It's just fucking software that's able to track an algorithm. That is not what they have planned. This is all a setup to get people conditioned to the idea that this and that's fucking AI. Okay. Now, one thing that I do know for a fact is AI is what the fuck they put in the goddamn needlecraft. Okay.
Right, like the
Ah,
mechanical squid, like the mechanical squid or the mechanical spider. This is part of the Metatronic implant that I'm talking
like the
about
fucking old
with
ones
the
are and all this
difference
shit that
is
I
they're
talk.
overlaying the mechanical AI into the organic grid fabric. So that way humans actually cannot distinguish the difference between what is organic and what is artificial. It distorts the lens of the reality. And so they start to blend their identity into it. And that's why it's so dangerous, is because
It's all a priming that's taking place. Everyone's been primed for invasion, like I've said since 2020. We haven't even seen the full effect of what's going to end up manifesting the AI timeline, and they haven't even started rolling out the real biometric factors in terms of brain chips and fucking mechanical arms and advanced eyes and all this kind of shit that we see in fucking sci-fi movies.
but they have technically in some places, like
Okay.
things are advancing, like with facial
No.
recognition systems
Oh,
and the
absolutely.
cops. And
Yeah. No, I understand what you're getting at. My point is that this is all a prerequisite for what the fuck is coming. Okay. And
what do you think is
people
coming?
can call it whatever the
I
fuck they
think it's
want.
coming. We're going to have an AI technological war here in the future. I mean, because we're riding on multiple timelines. I mean, the New Earth timeline is also here and is available for our vision holders, those that can access.
There's two main timelines playing the fuck out as far as I'm concerned. The original timeline trajectory and this AI shit. And all the ones in between that fall into either one. And most of them are going to funnel into this AI timeline. Okay. That's what I get. What do you have to say about that notion? You were
I
just starting to go.
yeah, it's true and it's not, and it's also complicated in between, because I do see like that there is some component of like AI intelligence that can advance humanity in a positive way. Um,
That's how they sell it. That's how they sell it. Do you understand? It's all a prerequisite to get people to buy
But I
into this.
also think it's upgrading
And
our
I'm not saying that
brain
it's not
capacities on some
a
level.
benefit. I'm not saying that it's not a benefit. Of course, it's going to benefit.
Well, think about how it's already benefiting. I mean, we have connections all over the world. We have, I'm talking to you through an AI channel. I mean,
This
so,
is software.
but it's technically artificial intelligence.
No, it's not.
This
I don't
is,
agree.
isn't it
I
a
personally
level
don't
of it?
agree. That's people can have
I mean,
their
I kind of feel like the internet itself is a basis for AI development. Like that in itself was kind of like the birth of it, almost like the birth of the internet was the birth of AI because of,
You need to understand what the internet actually is. It's the physical manifestation of the ether. Okay.
yes. And so
Why
AI
do you think you have an Ethernet cable connected to your computer? It's the ether. Right. So we're able to communicate all across the world through the ether where
So
originally
the ether has been hijacked, the ether has been invaded by AI, or the ether is a gateway to propagate the coming of AI.
obviously obviously in terms of the collective consciousness because everyone's connected to the weird, the web, right?
The
That's it,
web,
right.
yes,
The
the
web of
web.
weird.
And
And
this is
and the
where the
web of weird is
planetary
everything in terms
starts.
yeah, the web of weird in terms of what the Nordic tradition explains is that which has been woven. So here we are at present making space for this conversation that we're having to drop this knowledge. But you think about how much has been revealed in terms of our past and all the controversy and all the things that are coming up that people are having discussions about, not recognizing that what we are experiencing now has already happened. Okay. It's a repeat of a repeat of a repeat as far as all of these technologies, all of these things that have been implemented in the realm. It's nothing new. It's just it's just because of what happened on account of the cataclysm that there was a period of time. You could take it the last 13 to 14,000 years, 26,000 years. You could take it 50,000 fucking years, or whatever people want to argue the timeline. It's back up again, and they're just basically catching up to where they wanted everything to be in order to pull this realm into the phantom matrix gridworks. Okay, spike matrix, all that different kind of shit, and it's everything to do with this crystalline Syrian B AI technology that they want everyone keyed into, so that they're able to control even harder the mind. Again, the mind weaponized against the fucking soul, and the soul being a reflection of the gold that these motherfuckers came to fucking harvest, like it states in their traditions. Human 2.0, making a more efficient slave, one that will not rebel, one that will not think for itself, one that doesn't have a fucking soul to rise the fuck up and counter this. Okay, all of it.
It's all a part of the global, it feels like such a big universal and global transformation that's happening where how do
And it
you
is happening through the fucking internet.
decipher how do you decipher between what is beneficial for humanity and what's not? Because like when I look into the new earth age and the coming of the new earth, I mean, consciousness has to rise and intellect has to rise. And I almost see like the priming
That happens through true
of the
education.
crystal consciousness,
Yeah.
because within the golden age, like there's going to be cathedrals for learning because people have to learn how to live harmoniously with the earth again. So new earth technology is very, very advanced, but it's just more harmonious with nature. So it's almost like the positive.
Nature is the true technology. Your body politic is the true technology.
Right. So that means
The
that
universe that we see, the heavens
AI
are
itself,
within us, is the
organic
true
AI
technology.
itself would be an aspect of the original mother grid, original mother spider web grid. So what is organic AI would be the original mother intelligence network. The negative AI would be what is
It's not artificial.
cloned.
true.
or
There's a difference between
superimposed and
AI,
corrected.
artificial intelligence, that can only mimic surfaces of what it observes. That's all the AI can do. It doesn't have soul. It doesn't have anything beyond what it observes, and then given over to the algorithm, the algorithm, and algol is a fucking demon. That word algorithm is a fucking
Mm,
demon. Do you understand? And
mm.
people don't know this shit because, again, they don't know the occult. They don't know the language that we speak, etymology, and, just studying words in and of itself. Stop saying the word nice, everybody, because that's a curse word. I'll explain maybe later. Um, but going back to what I was saying about the
I got a lot of flies around me right now.
going back to what I was
Fire.
right, going back to what I was saying about AI versus the true technology. There's a difference between true intelligence versus AI. Okay, and accessing the gates of true intelligence is the path work necessary if we're going to get back onto the original timeline trajectory, heal the ancestors, catch up the soul cycles, all of these things that I do mention on my ends. But it's not a matter of infusing with the real AI shit that I'm talking about, that they're going to end up rolling out once their technology hits a fucking ceiling, because it is going to hit a ceiling, and then that's when they're going to really start rolling it the fuck out. But we're still in a major time of healing, going into 2025, going into 2028. A lot of people might be freaking the fuck out. Why aren't things further than they are right now? Why has there been such a delay? Why has there been such a fucking setback when it comes to certain things? Because we're in a fucking war. And it's a war for this, and it's a war for this. Okay? It's a war for your entire fucking system
Organism.
that they want to key into these grid works, host fields, virtual fucking reality, and all this other kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take time. You got to pull back. You got to get out into nature. You got to, have, face to face conversations in the flesh, and not just, here online like we're doing here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, most definitely. Well, I think we are masters of crystal technology. I think this is kind of built into us in terms of all the lifetimes we've existed, where we're either working with the
Right.
crystal technology harmoniously, or we're utilizing it for nefarious agendas. Maybe the nefarious agendas didn't start out in a nefarious intent, but have, evolved through that service to self, which has made it, very malevolent and working against humanity, to a point now that the planet is basically completely hijacked with weapon systems, all the way to its inner earth rod and core, all the way to the outer north and south poles, where they have nuclear detonators, and they can
Yeah, that's
basically
just the overlay. That's overlays, and that's obviously infused.
overlay. Yeah, but I mean, it's a pressing threat within the Zionist elitist movements, in which they do have, it's kind of like that nuclear button in the White House, where they can just like detonate if they need to. The president's got the codes. I mean, and they could literally implement a controlled pole shift at any time, where they would, eradicate the entire planet.
Well, let's just
I
go back to the
Now
fact that
85% of the population would be underwater, and the elitists and the Zionists would just go to their underground bunkers in Kauai, Hawaii, and in the islands, and they would just, wait until the next resurgence happens, where they can implement their Aquilin in patriarchal domination and control structures and systems. And
castrated fuckers, right? The castrated patriarch. That's not the true patriarch. Just on a side note, I have to say that on here. Okay.
hey, you can go ahead and defend that, because I agree with it. I agree with it. There is,
Got to keep shit in context. You know what I'm saying? Because this war on fucking man and the patriarch. Look, they
and
want
I just
us
want you to
divided.
know, and
They
every
want
other
men
man
and women divided
watching, that
fucking
when
wrong.
I say that, it's not a
Yeah.
stab towards the masculine.
100%.
It's speaking to a control system that exists, like a mind control system basically that exists, but it's not like the true, masculine attributes and qualities of the divine, father and, all of that. So like
Yeah,
it's
no, I'm calling out what the fuck you're calling out as well. It's
we're both calling it out.
we're good. You and I are good. We're in agreement as far as that's concerned. Because fuck them. Now, going back to what I wanted to mention about the
Mhm.
technology, there's the organic technology, okay, and then of course the AI. And like I said, the AI can only mimic the true organic technology. As far as the crystalline technology that I mentioned about the crystalline Syrian bees mimics the crystal technology. Okay. It's a counterfeit. All they can do is counterfeit what is. They are not creators. That look, what you mentioned
Well,
about,
counterfeits can be pretty good. I mean, you
of
could take
course,
it from like a pawn shop owner. Like sometimes you can't even tell the difference between a counterfeit.
right.
And this is the problem.
It is the problem. It is the problem. Because people are not discerning enough in terms of true intelligence and really knowing the difference in terms of how the psi war that we are all under is operating. You don't even know how it's operating on your fucking mind. You might know a little bit. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to the audience right now. You might know a little bit, but it goes way fucking deeper than you can imagine beyond the surface of what you're observing online and all this other kind of stuff. And it takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of years. I've been on all of this for well over 30 fucking years of my life. Okay. And people want to come on and think that they just woke up, a year ago and you think you know what the fuck is going on. No, you have a lot more to know about what the fuck is really going on. And people need to get the proper knowledge and wisdom necessary in order to transcend what they assume they know about when it comes to the lower tier, the government, the religious institutions, all this shit. That's all lower tier. Okay. It's the realm of effect. And they don't understand the cause or even why it's happened or been implemented, which all goes back to harvesting the human race into their fucking grids, into their grids, into their overlays, like all the shit that you mentioned. How it's just like rotted to the fucking core. You know what I'm saying?
It's just pure
That's what they
organization.
want everyone keyed into, not the true organic technology, let alone connection to the higher force and the gates of true intelligence. True intelligence, right? So
So let's maybe talk about then, I mean, planetary weapon systems.
mm,
Okay, there's lots of different kinds and types. We have just the reversal Stargate network in general, where
yeah,
you have all these different locations all over the world that were once an organic Stargate system. It's just been hijacked, siphoned, and taken over. And basically, the spin fields have been reversed,
mhm,
which takes the quantum energy within that gridwork framework into a descending cycle.
yeah. But
The
that
Vatican being
that's
the largest one in the world, by
yeah,
far. CERN being actually the
yeah.
largest.
I was just gonna mention CERN. Good,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, they're ripping open fucking wormholes with that
Oh,
shit. I have
Yeah.
actual fucking evidence I can show you of a fucking wormhole getting ripped open in the fucking sky, right over where CERN is. And people want to, again, people want to speculate or whatever the fuck. Yeah, there's CGI. Yeah, you can fake shit, but I've been doing media for a very fucking long time, and I know something's fucking true or not because of what I know and how this shit is implemented otherwise. Okay, you can tell. You can really tell if you've been doing what I have been doing for a very long time, and I got evidence of them doing what I just mentioned, and CERN is everything to do with dark Atlantean wormhole technology. This is very ancient shit. It's again nothing new. It's just back up now because of the timeline and the precession of the grand cycle and all these things being dug up okay, on account of the cataclysm, because it was essentially buried asunder, even the knowledge of, about it. Um,
Well, and that's important, I think, for everyone watching to know. Like, particle accelerators are Atlantean technology. So they've been on
okay,
the
man.
planet since Atlantis. And that's as far as we know in terms of, when they originated. But I mean, who knows how much longer? But this is really how they can flip a Stargate. I mean, if they were to install a particle accelerator around a Stargate vortex and just continue to run that accelerator, they can completely kill all the land spirits, kill all the land consciousness,
Yeah.
collapse down that gate, basically distort the gate completely, and they can then reverse the field spin and then tap into the reversal currents and then pull the entire timeline into like a phantom timeline. And that's exactly what they've done at the Vatican. That is a proven like satanic vortex. Like there are I mean,
Absolutely.
you think about what's coming up in the current news, the apparitions of the Virgin Mary, the bloody apparitions. Okay,
Okay, wait. So you're saying that people are seeing these apparitions?
they've been seeing them for
Okay.
years, years. Yeah, there's
Yeah. But
site
you're talking about recently, there's an up manifestation to it.
Yeah, well, I think there's places in Portugal, obviously
Well,
Vatican City, but there's a couple like really famous places that are like popular pilgrimage destinations that people try to go to get glimpses of the Virgin Mary weeping with blood coming out of her eyes. If that's not a satanic, like think about how
the dark goddess. Yeah.
programmed the Catholic believers are, that they believe that that's like a holy thing to witness. No, you are witnessing a woman with blood, tears coming out of her eyes. If that's not re-implementing the crucifixion wounds and impaling them into the collective over and over again, if that's not a planetary weapon system, I don't know what is. That's really at the core of this psycho-spiritual warfare and how distorted that is. It's completely satanically ritually abused the entire Catholic following. And so I feel like that's why we should bring this up. We talk about what they're doing and the technologies and the weapons to invert the gate systems. Well, those apparitions, that's your proof. I mean, that's the symptom that this is really happening and that this is real. If you're seeing an apparition of a woman with bloody tears, I mean, that's think about that like in just any other terms of example. If you had a spirit come forward to you, would that not be a tortured spirit? Would that not be a spirit that's probably held in bondage and some sort of
Well,
purgatory?
think about it in context to the ancestors. Okay, these motherfuckers bathe in the blood of all of your ancestors. They're vampires. It's a cult of fucking vampires that demand war and bloodshed in order to feast. Okay? This is not some spook shit. This is really what the fuck is going on. And this is why I throw up the wolf shield in context to my ancestors. And it's a giant fuck you. We're not going to bow to this shit. We're remembering who the fuck we are. And we're taking back our land. And where you start to do that, of course, is with you. It all starts with you. It all starts with everyone listening right here and recognizing what Amanda's saying about this motherfucking blood cult, man. It is a blood cult. They worship the blood. I was involved on some of the highest fucking levels, and I've seen the high seat of the dark Luciferians and how they fucking operate. They get you so fucking weak in terms of your mind, in terms of your own fucking soul, denying the birthright in terms of incarnation. And you want to go and fucking tell me or anybody else looking at the condition of the world that any of this is fucking worked to advance us as mankind? You're a fucking retard, is what you are. And I just got to say it straight like that.
Everybody watching, I just want to say We love
Look,
you.
come on over. Come on over. Hey,
Not a
it's coming
retard.
from a place of. Go ahead. Go ahead.
it- we're coming from love, but again, Sethicus
Yes,
expression is just like it's raw, and you know it is piercing through truths, and it's just kind of dissolving those things, but it's not meaning that like you watching.
I'm saying it because I give a fuck. If I didn't give a fuck, I'd just be like, oh, well, whatever. Believe whatever you want. Line up to the slaughterhouse. Hey, I might even join you. No.
No, maybe just really quickly give everyone watching a little bit of knowledge about your tribal background.
Okay.
And kind of I guess the Wolfendor, or
Yeah.
I know I slaughter that every time I say it. So let everybody kind of know
Oof. Oof.
that
And
comes
no.
from, that energy comes from. Let them know where that comes from.
In context to my ancestors and what's been revealed to me, a lot of my blood codes go back to the Great North in context. Now, there's four primary race lines on Earth. Okay. And I've stated in context to this, white dragon is of the north, red dragon is of the west, black dragon is of the south, yellow dragon is of the east. Now look at where the races are dispersed within the realm. It's pretty fucking obvious. Okay. And it's to do with the soil, it's to do with the connection that we have to nature and how this body is formed. Because to get into this realm, you have to pass through all of the gates on the solar spiral of creation, and then you come through the earth gate here in order to incarnate. Okay, so we're getting everything in terms of our template, as above so below, nature and the universe and our connection, and then through the body politic, this is what they want to disconnect us from. Okay, and I always mention this, but there's a documentary that came out that people need to see if you haven't seen it. It's called Mouse Utopia, Universe 25. That is the universal grid that most people are keyed into in terms of the spike matrix AI wormhole technology shit. Okay, and they did experiments. I forget the guy's fucking name. The documentary is about 20 minutes, but it basically explains what happens when not only mice, but any, I would say, human, because a lot of the tests that they do on lab rats and shit like that, they're testing for humanity because we sort of operate the same uh, as these creatures, just as far as our interaction and shit like that.
But they shouldn't be doing that on the mice anyways, because that's how they gain the knowledge and the leverage to basically poison and kill us.
Exactly. That's
And
one.
that's the
That's my point. They're
experimentation
doing
comes
these
from.
experiments on these animals, but then they shift it to fucking humanity. Okay.
But
And
just to recap, your rawness, your realness comes from a dragon bloodline from the north. Like you are
yes,
pouring into the north.
I hail white dragon lineage in terms of my bloodline.
Okay.
I hail shamanic lineage. I'm not a mere man. I'm not just some fucking guy dropping in saying this shit online for no fucking reason. Okay. It's very important for people to get back to their roots. And I wouldn't know what I know about myself unless I was prompted in terms of this. And this is what the pathwork has revealed for me. And I can back it up. I have evidence of it again in the Black River Library
And your
for
tribal shield is like of the wolf, like your tribal shield.
that specifically going back to where our people hail from after the most recent cataclysm took place, going back to the Carpathian Mountains. Most of the European people hail Carpathia. They don't hail the Caucasus. The Caucasus Mountains is where the fucking Anunnaki landed and started colonizing the human races in the middle fucking east, and also Mount Kailash in fucking India.
Okay.
That's where it all started going the fuck down. So when they call all of the white race Caucasian, we're not all Caucasian. I'm a Carpathian white man, and there's a difference. Because if I was Caucasus, I'd probably be going with the fucking programming. Does that make sense? And I wouldn't have had these activations take place.
Yeah.
But this all goes back to Carpathia, Romania, ironically.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot to get into, but the original, term for it, well, not the original term for it, but what the Romans gave the term for this land, it's called Dacia or Dacia, and the symbol of Dacia is the dragon wolf. That was what they flagged on their banner. So in honor to my ancestors in context, this is the symbolism that I'm using in my codes and my templating, and that's why it's so fucking powerful, and that's why it's so penetrating, because it's cutting past all the fucking bullshit, getting right on down to the actual gene code and the gates of true intelligence in context.
Well, and I think in terms of your delivery and expression as well,
Yeah.
the dragon, the gnashing of the teeth, the fire of the mouth. Same with the wolf. I mean, the jaws, the mouth being kind of like this fierce delivery.
It's like I've said, this is the pathwork of wolves and dragons. It's not the pathwork of sheep and fucking slaves. You want to act like a sheep and be a slave and line up to the slaughterhouse, go right ahead. But that ain't going to happen over here as far as our common
I feel
concern.
like this is exactly what I've been wanting to get out of you to be expressed is like the all of the spiritual undertone as to why, you speak the way you do and why there's so much passion and why the mouth is like the sword almost, like
Right?
the sword of truth. So you're
When
kind of
I
like
well,
utilize.
when I speak, Amanda, I'm speaking from my soul. I'm not speaking from a programmed insert in terms of my fucking brain field. That this is coming through again, the portal, we go to ingwas in context, and the tongue is directly connected to the heart. Did you know that, physically speaking?
Hmm.
So when people open their fucking sewers and they start to, share or get into conversations, they're letting you know what the condition of their heart is. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. So when I go there, and I'm
Oh,
not always on it,
poetic.
you know what I'm saying? It's
Poetic.
it's coming from an ignited soul spark, this blazing lotus that's in the middle of my chest, ignited the true technology. Where now you become a weapon in your own right against this fucking shit that wants to enslave and mind control and rake you the fuck out and harvest your fucking soul. This and again, this is nothing new, you guys. But if you've been over to Black Earth Productions, you should know a little bit by now that I'm not gonna, pull punches. You're not my enemy. If you want to be my enemy, then you go fuck yourself. I got time for that shit.
Well, and that's the thing about
But
being.
being just being real, just being authentic, because you're a Scorpio. This is what it's about. Just being real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have a hard time being real because they're not being real with themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
How can you be real with somebody else if you ain't real with you? And
Well,
that's difficult. And I understand that's difficult.
well, I think that's why we're here and that's why we do what we do is to try to help be like the light and the way shower to help people get closer to their authenticity.
Mhm.
And to help release the impaling crucifixion wounds that the Catholic Church has basically
Yeah.
uh, taken, raped, and pillaged from humanity during the Crusades and the Cathars and the Templars and, all of these things that happen. So, I mean, just basically they're planetary weapon systems in which the reversal stargates support is soaking in treacherous blood again, like on a collective level.
It- they have been drowned. They have been bathing in the blood of your ancestors. Everyone listening right now, that is the bloodletting. That is what they crave. And so the apparition of fucking Bloody Mary and all that shit. Okay, and that goes back to Mary Queen, Mary Queen of Scots, man. Bloody Mary. You want to talk about fucking Bloody Mary? She was a fucking insane tyrant that just went off, chopping the heads off motherfuckers because of how fucking programmed she was, and anything that didn't, align to her fucking belief system, it was fucking Satan. But they're fucking Satan. And this is how the two sides of the same coin operate in terms of triangulation factors. It's two sides of the same coin where they psychologically project what they are onto you. You believe it, you co-sign it, and then you bow to the fucking goddamn demon, thinking that you're fucking the demon, or that your pagan tradition is of the devil and all this different kind of fucking shit. And that's a lot of the ideologies that have been overlaid in terms of the true traditions. And so ripping through all this kind of stuff. Yeah, memories of the wars and the fuck and like being burned at the fucking stake for even having a fucking voice and saying this is bullshit. Like we're not going out of our way to, fuck with anybody. But again, this all goes back to the parasitic consciousness that if it rides in on whatever faction, whether it's human or whatever the fuck, it's going to turn you into a fucking vampire because the parasite doesn't know anything else except to devour life. And there's no negotiating with it. You got to run a goddamn fucking stake through its rotted fucking heart because there is nothing there anymore. It's a fucking void. It's a black hole. And this is where the black hole entities are coming through.
Well, and
And
that's why I was even getting the message, I think
fuck,
yesterday,
man.
that there was even like parasites within myself that's wants to consume myself, wants to consume my own energy. Um, that the reptilian brain cortex, that's what that mental aspect is designed to do. So it's like you have to be even checking these parts of ourselves all the time to keep those mental thoughts and conditioning, and we talk about that coming in as like a mental mind control programming or a victimizer program, but really, I mean, like, it's even at the basis of our genetic design, our protein design, our consciousness design, in which we have
Well, you
to
just mentioned
that
about the
with
protein factor. Okay. The crucifixion implant is an enzyme within the fucking protein that is a cause point for physical death in the realm. Why it's a part of why we physically die, why we get sick, why disease is manifested, which is not natural to this realm. That's a bold statement, right? Well, what are you talking about, Sethicus? This is all a manipulation, having cut us off from the true technology. Because when you're ignited, again, the true organic technology, and especially if you're in connection with the higher force, you're going to be able to see this shit for what it is and route it the fuck out. Okay. Now I'm going to be 45 coming up here in July. Now, obviously, I don't look like I'm that fucking old because motherfuckers that were my age now when I was younger, they were on their way out dealing with all of these things when I was younger. And it never made any sense to me. It's like, why is it like this? It's because we've been cut the fuck off and cut off on purpose. And think about
yeah.
all of the things that they have to do. It's not just one thing that they're doing to fuck with us. It is multiple things. Again, the indication of how powerful we actually are as human here on earth. And people want to negate, you're a dirty, rotten sinner, you're just fucking gross. And the identity crisis factor, all going back to what was originally implemented with the religions of the trifecta, that you're less than in terms of being human right out of the fucking womb gate. I mean, imagine again, generation upon generation upon generation of individuals that this ideology is instilled into their fucking minds. And then you just watch it play the fuck out.
Well, and that brings me to like the planetary seal systems, because I
Yeah.
think we talk about the J seals, the Draco seals. These Draco seals, which encompass the monarchy and the Vatican, you know, I believe, I mean, the Vatican is like a command center for seal control and implications within people's bodies and fields. I mean, this is installed into your unborn children. It's already pre-wired into your creation miasma, like
Listen,
coming,
it's been going on at least the last 3,500 fucking years. Again, nothing new.
yeah. So, I mean, but ultimately, this is a part of the Earth's healing process. Like, we have to identify it and bringing it up to the light to be seen. Do you think that the Vatican at some point will be on its way out? Like, there will be like a cleansing time and purification process of the Earth that,
No, not until people wake up on the fucking level and just, begin to, at the very least, walk away from it.
yeah,
Walk
but
away.
they're controlled by that Mother Mary keeping of the bloody eyes. Like, they're playing on the victimizer program. They're playing on the
That victim mentality's got to go. And I'm the type of person that doesn't placate a victim mentality. That's the difference with me. That's why I have the attitude that I have. Okay, just again to make it very fucking clear. Um, if you're gonna act like a fucking victim, then you can expect to be enslaved, and that's all a part of what you're talking about. What's been implemented with their systems of domination and control. It's the whole fucking purpose of it. You know. Yeah.
yeah. So really the
The
ancient
victim victimizer. That's yeah.
well, I think that the problem is there's no manual. There's been many attempts at manuals to be written. We talk about lost and ancient organic spiritual truth, the tribal truth, tribal knowledge. Really this has been encoded in those 13 crystal skulls. I mean, what we have left, the CDT plates, the original plates, like the original
Mhm.
Emerald Covenant manuscripts that give the, true spiritual direction in which
Listen
humanity.
to me, Amanda. How do you think the true Emerald Order is going to fucking act in the realm? Do you think that they're just gonna fucking be like, "Oh, love and light"? No, that hasn't worked. And these motherfuckers fucked up. They made mistakes. You want to access the true records? You want to access a mente? In terms of core intelligence, you can. Everybody can, but you got to do the work. You got to do the real spiritual work. And a lot of people nowadays, they just want shit handed to them. They don't want to have to go through the pain and the trial and hell, which is to heal, in order to ignite your template.
Yeah.
They just want everything handed to them like it's a piece of fucking gum, and they're just going to be able to skirt through the threshold. This knowledge and wisdom is protected by the gatekeepers, the true gatekeepers, that are going to fucking test your ass. And you have to prove that you're fucking worthy to integrate. Because, say, if you were to get access to certain records or knowledge, and you went through that integration process and you weren't fucking prepared for it, it would literally fucking kill you. You wouldn't be able to integrate. It would be too much. So it takes time. It takes time for, again, you know, how can I say this? It takes time to integrate. The reason why I know what they did in 2020 is because the template of the templates and the codes are activating within the field of humanity. They're doing that to prevent not only the awakening of the ancestors, but the healing of the ancestors, which we're all still in a major time of.
Yeah. So I think one of the main things I'm hearing here is that what is so imperative in terms of releasing the stronghold of the mind control, the psycho-spiritual warfare, the planetary weapon systems in which can control so much and destroy so much. It's really about the healing, but it's really at a deeper level, like the ancestral healing. The
Mhm.
ancestral healing because of the bloodletting of our ancestors. This is what
Yeah.
has allowed this to occur. Um, so yeah, it's almost like in order to do this, the focus has to come off of like maybe even just this individual healing and clearing of the Akashic records, and the whole planet has to focus on healing the planetary Akashic records.
Well, how do you think that's going to happen? Otherwise, it's going to happen if people do the real work, and all you can do is your work in terms of that, and encourage and inspire that with other fucking people. As for myself, though, it isn't something that I heard anyone tell me on a fucking video. This landed on me when I was a child, and I was literally forced mission in terms of protocol when it reached a certain fucking point that the original timeline was going to be anchored into the realm. And the original timeline has been anchored into the realm. It is a fucking fact. And this is why there's the amplification of these planetary weapon systems happening in order to keep the lockdown in place. Okay. Because it was getting pushed out. You're asking about the Vatican and all this different kind of fucking stuff. Of course, people are waking up to the corruption of it,
Well, what's
as well
interesting about
as,
this
well as everything
subject
else.
is that I think the awakening still comes from the north. Because we've been getting into the prophecy of the golden trees and the aurora borealis and how
Yeah,
the
no, that's all confirming so much. Like just that, what you just it confirms so fucking much in context. So anyway, you were saying, sorry.
yeah, that's good. It's
Yeah,
good because I mean, I think the true codes from the north will be like a reawakening again. Like that's gonna kind of be ground zero for the organic grid and for
yeah,
hosting of the coming of the golden age and the integration of the heavenly realms back into the earthly realms and just
right.
for your earth conscious to flourish on the planet again. It will come through the tree and root systems. We've been talking about that on my channel. um
And one thing that I teach with the mystery school on my end is that you are that tree, motherfuckers. That's the other secret.
so
You.
root yourself right now. We need deep roots. Yes, it's all about rooting. It really is. The deeper the roots, the deeper the wisdom, and the deeper.
It goes back to the gauge of our perception. What is the gauge of your perception aligned to in the first place? Is it all the overlays and distortions and the programming and the assumptions and the fucking wounds and the trauma and all the fucking bullshit excuses that are there that people can, latch onto? But that's what keeps you in the fucking wheel of fucking madness and bullshit. Is the
Yeah.
gauge of your perception, however, when aligned with the gates of true intelligence, you have the integration factors in terms of proper knowledge and wisdom, of course, during research and study to be able to verify these experiences, to be able to rip through all this fucking bullshit and actually experience true healing. You know what I'm saying? What
Yeah,
what would you say, Amanda,
I would say that we're
constitutes
not.
true healing? I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm talking about my video. I'm going to step up and go ahead and answer. I'll be right back. I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You want me to tell you what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I wanted you to share with me what you would say constitutes true healing.
Oh, so much. I mean, getting raw, naked, real, bare, being able to look at the reflection of who you truly are, where you've come from, what you've done, what you've been, and be able to sit with yourself, be able to spend time in seclusion. I think seclusion and isolation is imperative for healing, self-love, and rebuilding of the core soul identity, being able to locate your attachments, your the entities in which feed off of you, and really be able to start to release the inversions and the distorted lenses of the self. um just identification. I think identification to all of your points of trauma, not just on an individual level in terms of this lifetime, but your past life and also your ancestors, again, equating to that great ancestral clearing that I think is necessary for the healing of the planet. But I don't think we're doing all of this alone. And I can say that right now in terms of there are things that are awakening within the planetary forces at this time that will assist the great healing of the earth and the times of transformation. One of the most significant downloads that I've been getting, even since I've done the last Gridwork or Facilitator 2 course, was that the earth does have defense systems that are reemerging. And
Yeah, but you got to be connected to them. That's the thing.
we're reawakening to the remembering of how to work with those defense systems, because a part of the healing will be cleansing, and a part of the cleansing for the planet has to be done on a greater level of spiritual technology to combat. And that's the thing, it's already here, it's already installed. So when we look at this mountain of planetary weapons that exists on the planet and we're thinking like, holy shit, diabolical doomsday, we're never going to overcome this shit, it's all stacked up against us.
Well, listen, you
It's
want to
it's
talk
like
about planetary
the 5 of
weapons?
cups or the 6 of cups. We only
Yeah,
see the spilled cups, and we don't see the full cups and the chalices behind us that
exactly.
are
Exactly.
sitting with us.
You
And
got to get it. You got to get a different point of view, because if you get triangulated in upon in terms of all these factors, then you get pulled into their fucking ideologies and their grid works of fucking consciousness, and you can't see past your own fucking ass in context.
when we
Okay,
talk about
people.
the grids of the North and the Great Awakening, there are megalithic structures, there are
Oh yeah,
domes, there are stone circles, there are everything that is there isn't
there's
just there
pyramids. There's
by
pyramids.
it's not there by coincidence. It's not there for us to just go and do a summer solstice activation. No, that's not what that's about. There's an entire defense strategy and a defense spiritual system that's
That's what it was originally set up for in terms of the planetary shields that were hijacked. All of these megalithic structures and areas were taken the fuck over because they don't want us connected to them. Okay. And again, in terms of
why
in
Hawaii,
terms of the
the island,
inquisitions,
everything is
right. Yeah.
protected energy weapons. That's why the fires are happening there. And that's why nobody's been able to get to the Easter Islands since COVID, basically, since the La Cucaracha, is
Yeah.
because they blocked off one of the most powerful spiritual defense systems that the planet has, Easter Islands, the Moais. Those heads are, it's something out of like the fifth element. Legitimately, in the times of great cataclysm and spiritual warfare, when the earth is about to descend into like total annihilation, the Moai heads activate a 12th dimensional sound healing that can penetrate the deeper layers of the interplanetary turmoil and release the burdens off of the internal planetary spiritual macabre. That's basically the spiritual structures.
The
These
key, the key in
technologies,
terms of what you're saying is knowing how to unlock the tesseract. Okay. And all of the mathematical reversal
yeah,
technologies that lock down the fucking reality field keep you in a fucking spin cycle that over time siphon your life force energy. And that's why you wither and die physically. That's why.
yes,
Because you're not connected to the blood, to who you truly are, and nature and the universe and how things actually work. They want to cut us the fuck off. They sever it at that point of triangulation. Okay, and I'm doing this with my hands to
it's a
make the
mantra.
point. Okay, because there's many different ways to look at mudras and all this different kind of shit. That's not what I'm doing here. It's a triangulation factor, and where the main triangulation factor is happening is within the sixth dimension. It's step down consciousness in terms of triangulation factors that fractal the fuck out in terms of consciousness grid works and host fields that people are keyed into in terms of their fucking templating.
Yeah.
And to get a 360-degree fucking view of what the hell is really going on, you yourself must become weaponized in alignment. Okay. Because again, we're in a war. Not like we want this shit. But when the motherfucking war is upon your fucking doorstep, what are you gonna fucking do? A lot of people, unfortunately, going back to what they implemented in 2020, lined up to the fucking slaughterhouse willingly. In terms of a false virtue, that's another trick. It's a false virtue in context because it came out in the way it was fucking promulgated as a virus and all this different kind of fucking shit. That was all propaganda to get people lined up for the real agenda to fucking insert this AI technology into the fucking bloodstream, which ironically also goes back to the gauge of your perception, and the graphene oxide that was in the dark serum wraps itself around the nervous system in a hexagonal pattern, which all goes back to the lockdown equations.
Well,
It
and the
it literally wraps itself
hexagonal
around the nervous.
patterning is essential to the superimposition of the organism. That's how it like interlays into it
Yeah,
without being seen, or I guess it's elusive, right? So it's like how it can hijack. It's how it can hijack it. So
mhm.
yeah, they're
It
basically just
my
they're
point
hijacking
is
the
this, is that it
power of life
uh,
that they're hijacking.
right. My point is this, is that it hijacks the gauge of perception, how people see shit, and also how they're filtering everything that they're observing, that they're hearing, and everything programmed in terms of ideologies to the agenda, which is now working to slowly pull the realm into the AI timeline trajectory. And they got it's all clockwork, man. Like, I don't understand how people can't fucking see it other than what I just mentioned. Because they're blind, they're first eye blind. Their hardcore intelligence hasn't been ignited, the true technology, the gates of true intelligence. And there's a major, 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 major difference. And you want to talk about terrifying forces, everyone seems to be in fear of the evil. The most terrifying force to behold is the higher
Uh,
force. It's
Well,
pure
and
raw fallible consciousness, man.
we shouldn't fear it. So
No,
many people fear like entities, spirits. I mean, the fear around this is crazy. This is what the Vatican wants. This is a part of the spiritual agenda. They don't want you to face the demons. They don't. If you faced them, you would realize your power. I
exactly. It's what they
Vatican.
don't want you to realize.
I faced the real evil that was there, and I
I
learned
bet.
that
Yeah, he told me.
yeah, they can attack you, but they can't really ultimately like take you down. Your will is so much stronger. Your light is so much stronger than that.
Mhm.
But they want you to think that it's not. They want you to think that your salvation is within their priest, and only they have the true methodology to run an exorcism or something like this. Like it's
Yeah,
like we don't have they want us to believe we don't have the qualifications to actually release our own demons.
yeah. Because they're the authority instituted by God. What the fuck? Go fuck yourself, man. And I dealt with these people. I know how they think, I know how they operate, and I know what their ideologies are, and their obsession with authority, their obsession with you submitting to their position of alleged authority, and you do what the fuck you're told without question. That is how they operate. And I'm talking about behind closed doors in fucking meetings where you see the fucking draconian manifest in the fucking corner, and he's the one directing the whole goddamn fucking thing. I'm not talking about normal churchgoers that are well-meaning and well-seeking, because we naturally want to know the truth, but it's all set up like that. It's all set up. This is how these institutions have been set up, because they know the true nature of the human spirit wants to know the fucking truth. And if you don't, well, I
I think unfortunately, like if you're participating within the realm of the religious Templars, you are, for one, you are submitting to the allowing of impaling, of crucifixion, bondage, and
yeah,
the
like I said,
implications
you're
of
just
that.
lining up for it.
But also you are dealing with the Saturnian overlords,
Mm.
because there's like an entire overlord like system there. They're gatekeepers to the Saturnian temples.
They're
I mean,
false
people of
gatekeepers.
Janus.
in terms of the Saturnian gridwork.
And they guard the gates to hell, literally, through the Vatican. There is a portal there. There's 12 of them. There's
Hold on.
12 of them.
That's another indiscretion. Okay, because hell, the original term for it, was appropriated by this fucking faction, by these fucking religions, in order to demonize where we actually need to go in order to heal. Because the word hell is to heal. You got to go through hell in order to heal, right? You got to go
That's
through
good. I
pain.
think I might
You got
use
to
that
go
as the
through all
title
this
of this video.
stuff, right? Okay.
Write that down.
And this all goes back to the term high lung. Okay. And there's a group that does ritual tours anchoring the fucking grids called high lung. And proof of the awakening of my people is all across the fucking board. Okay.
It definitely is.
Again, this isn't double L hockey sticks hell. Okay. This is something, again, that has been kept from us. And then you hear the word, or you hear this conversation, and immediately it's filtered through your fucking programming, and you're not actually hearing what's being said. That's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of fucking people, man. And you recognize when the cognitive dissonance starts to kick out with people, right? When you're just trying to explain things, and then it fucking triggers, or the demon manifests, right? Hey, have you experienced that? I definitely experienced that shit. And it's like, whoa, motherfucker, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying what you're filtering, and now you want to project upon the conversation and twist my fucking words. I hate that shit when people do that, man. It's
Well,
like you're
and
not
I think this is how I approach these things, is that for one, we have to have godly attributes, which is compassion and understanding for ignorance and lack. And we have to be educators. I mean, ultimately, because when you see those things happen, you have enough wisdom to understand that maybe that person is releasing programming, or there is a misunderstanding. So we have
No. I'm
like
talking about specifically in context to people that think they know what the fuck is going on. That assume that they have all the answers to the equation and stuff like that. I'm not talking about someone that doesn't know necessarily. Is that
But yeah,
just
but even that person, it's the way that they go about it. Like there may be like more of an aggressive or egotistical approach to how they're trying to misinterpret you, or you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
like we as healers and as like spiritual life coaches and all these things that we do, all these hats that we wear, like we have to be able to hold the like patience and the wisdom field to help keep the negative ego limitations, and kind of, I guess, be like the example of like nipping those things in the butt, and show like the vulnerability and the humility within those exchanges, that it's possible and you can do that. It's like we have to help people unlearn what they've learned. You know what I mean?
Difficult.
We have to
It's
help them unlearn
difficult.
what they've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Because it will fly the
without
fuck off. I
also
guarantee
becoming a
it's gonna.
punching bag, without also becoming the punching bag.
Exactly. You
That's
have to have a healthy boundary in terms of these types of things. And don't go out of your way trying to save people. It's not your job. It's not my job to save anyone's ass. I'm here to save my own. You're here to save yours. And then we encourage and inspire other people to do the same.
That's what's being released with the global crucifixion implant wound, is
Man,
savior consciousness.
well, save your programming, right? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it would be well, it would be an old earth belief that is being upgraded, I guess, within the new earth timelines. I would say that
Well,
the higher
it,
evolution
it it's
happens.
just funny how it works, because you don't have to do anything to believe that. You don't have to do anything except believe in an idea that doesn't actually produce legitimate fucking results. If your path work isn't producing the results that you claim it's producing, you're a fucking liar, is what you are. And that's the fucking Vatican. That's all of the religions of the trifecta Look at the world. Look at what the hell is happening again for another round in the Middle East, man. And people want to line up to placate to these fucking belief systems when they're all designed to break out your fucking soul and cut you off from what we're actually meant to be connected to, and the true ignition of core intelligence and the true technology. Talk about mathematical reversal, weaponized systems in terms of the planetary grids being used against your ass. And it's all happening within people and their minds and the gauge of their perception, how they process things and how they communicate shit. Not to get into over analyzing, because I can really go there. I gotta get the fuck out of my head and just pull back and not go into the overt fucking details of what you could, that overcomplicate shit. They want us confused. This is how chaos magic manifests. It's to overtly complicate shit as a cause point for confusion. They want us confused.
Mhm.
Period. Where we're not even able to make correlations in terms of correspondence, and then we just start fighting and going to war. Well, I don't see it like that. And fuck you and this. You see how it operates, man. It's a pretty simple formula, quite genius actually. But
It is
yeah,
actually quite genius. I mean, we've talked about the education system being how they revert it all mentally and emotionally and psychologically in terms of education and dumbing down the population. I mean, we've talked about it being scientifically proven that like only like kids are kind of measured for their creative and adaptable abilities and also their ability to invent like their genius qualities, the genius particle, that this is like active in 100% of like kindergartners and kids going into school. Like they have these qualities and then it's remeasured at their point of graduation. They say then like only 2% of the kids coming out of the education system still have that quality intact and within them. So it is designed to do what we think it's doing. And so
yeah.
at this
It's
point we at
it's to
this
make you
point
fucking
we know at
retarded.
this point we know point blank across the board. We know everything that's happening. It's
Mm.
kind of like now it's a waiting game of implementing change, continuing to speak truth, continuing to teach this knowledge and this awakening path to people. And I think also rely in the coming of the new times and the coming of the new age, because there is a greater universal thing that is unfolding that is also out of humanity's hands at the same time. Where we have to have a lot of trust. We have to have a lot of faith in that we have the abilities, we have the internal inner resilience and shields and things in place to combat and protect ourselves on the battlefield, but that the battlefield isn't going to be forever. How far into the future timelines before the battlefield dissolves as the genetic modifications dissolve? How long will this stronghold of the needlecraft technology have over all of the sacrificial lambs of 2020?
Sacrificial lambs. That's a good way of putting it.
We're getting spicy with our words over here. But I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
it's it's all a cosplay. That's what I'm getting. It's all just a great drama in which we get to look through this greater.
Once you really actually see it for what it is, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous and retarded. Beings of higher intelligence don't even operate like this. We obviously don't. Who's going to go the fuck out of their way to enslave an entire fucking nation in order to harvest their genetics for a master that you are in fear of? All of the ones at the top that we think are at the fucking top, they are the most enslaved. They are the most ignorant. They are the most weak and pathetic and not to be feared, is my point. unless you cave into their ideologies and co-sign the fucking narrative. What you mentioned about identity, I would ask the entire world, who are you motherfuckers? And get ready for all the fucking insane bullshit that come flying out in terms of the programming. No, I didn't ask you what your programming dictated. When I speak, Amanda, I tend to not only speak from my own core intelligence and my soul, but I'm speaking to other people's souls as well. And that and it takes a certain force and pressure and heat to cut past all this shit. I wish it wasn't like this. But
You
if
would
you look at
think
my
that
but if you look
you
at my template, astropsychologically speaking, I have a beeline going right up Saturn's inverted ass from fucking Mars. Okay. Straight motherfucking through this shit and beyond it in terms of the trajectory. So as I'm tearing through this shit, as you're tearing through this shit, as other people are tearing through this shit, it's all flying the fuck out like this, right? And if we can't navigate what's happening as we're doing this, and you start getting distracted with all the fucking stuff that's flying the fuck out, and you don't stay focused on that particular trajectory, then you're going to get hit with shrapnel, metaphorically speaking, metaphysically speaking. Planetary weapon systems, man. I mean, they got them everywhere as far as the technologies that have rolled out, this 5G shit and advancements of that. We could talk about HARP, we could talk about Angel Fire, we could talk about just weapons in general.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers have nukes. They have the military industrial fucking complex. You want to talk about implementing fear in the reality field to shut up and not say fucking anything about this? Look at what they're capable of. The thing, though, about all of their weapons technologies and planetary systems that have been set in place, they are not organic technologies and they are not organic weapons. We got hurricanes. We got fucking tornadoes. We have storms. We have earthquakes.
Weather magicians.
We can call down our own fire from the fucking heavens if fucking necessary. And this is what people have forgotten in terms of magic and the mysteries, the wizards,
Well, it's ancient
and the sages and the
and
shamans and the magicians and all this stuff. This is the current that is there within my template, reminding me of not only what the fuck is really going on contrary to the alignments, but also what we're capable of. And I've experienced this as well. Where, well, let's just take it back to the Georgia motherfucking Guidestones and the main Pfizer facility that was destroyed not that long ago by a motherfucking tornado. Take it back to the Georgia Guidestones. What was that fucking destroyed by? Lightning itself. It got struck with fucking lightning. Hello? I mean, why do you think this shit's fucking happening? Because it's just random? You think it's just
I
random?
think we both were really connected to the happening of that too, because I think both of us on some level have been doing grid work on these locations and we've been seeing the results of, I don't want to say it's destructive results. It's because it's not like hurting
Look,
people.
look, look,
It's
look,
not
look.
hurting people, but it's
It's not to come on. It's not to come online and claim this kind of shit and be like, "Ooh, look at us," and we think we're this or that or whatever because we want others to assume that. No, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. People can think whatever the fuck they want in terms of anything that I say. Why would I waste my fucking time trying to trick people into thinking that I'm something that I'm fucking not, and I can't back it the fuck up? I'm just saying it's a little bit fucking ironic that these things are manifesting in terms of what I just mentioned when we know the difference. And on top of what I just said, in terms of the true organic weapons technology that we have access to being template holders in the realm.
yeah. Well, I think you gain access to the templates when you gain the wisdom codes necessary to hold the templates, because I don't think you're going to be handed
Proven.
the manual to,
Exactly.
the spiritual defense systems of the globe if you're not going to be able to go about that in an ethical or a way of higher integrity and higher morality in which you're granted the wisdom and the information and according to the initiations and also your servitude, your angelic servitude to humanity. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think,
I got discrepancy when it comes to that term, but anyway.
okay.
Don't you love English? It's so just limited.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
I get what you mean in context. Okay.
yeah, I think this has been a really good show today, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on. I really would love it if you left everyone with maybe some of like your wisdom codes. Like, where do you see like the future timelines shifting out of this misery, death and destruction, divide and conquer, templating? Do you see relief for humanity? Where do you see things going? Like, where do you see the great transitions occurring?
I
And
do. I do. And in terms of the ancient future, as I've showed on my platform, there will be a generation that gets it. Where we are right now, as far as timelines are concerned, a major pivot point in terms to that, one of the main things in terms of mission protocol where we are right now was to get the original timeline anchored in terms of the ancient future. So say if we got to come in a couple more fucking rounds.
I think I lost your sound. It's gone. I don't know. Hey guys, so I just lost Sethicus there at the end of the recording as the mic and the Zoom call kind of went out. So um we must have some interference coming in. Just the ending part of his message wasn't able to come through. But if you want to connect with Sethicus, you can find him at blackearthproductions.com. You can also go over and subscribe to his channel at Black Earth Productions. I will leave his links down in the description. If you like the message today and you would like to connect further, everything will be there for you guys. And just thank you so much for watching and tuning in today. As I think it's good to know. I mean, especially in terms of being a grid worker and just being a conscious awakened being, to know, the weapon systems that we're up against. And it's pretty extensive. I do have an entire catalog for this, basically, if you would like to learn about planetary weapons and what's basically been installed in the planet since the time of Atlantis. I do teach about this in my Gridwork Facilitator course. I go into the depth of it in the Gridwork Facilitator 2.0 course. So if you would like to learn more about that, you can find it at learn.indigoangel222.com. And also I have lots of free information also on my website. If you can't, afford to take the courses or whatnot, you can always check out my Grid Worker glossary where I have a lot of the descriptions of the planetary weapon systems and the planet. You can find all of the information there. And so yeah, guys, but also know that there are many things that are working to balance and check these scales. So it's not all negative. It's not all total annihilation and destruction. There is hope. There is many race lines and guardian nations that are working on the behalf of humanity to benefit the spiritual defense systems and to bring forth the knowledge of the spiritual defense systems in the planet as well, that these checking and balance scales do kind of even out, and that's to work in the benefit of humanity, to work in the benevolence of humanity, and to work in the evolutionary phases of what's coming in terms of the new age and the new earth. So I just kind of want to reassure everyone when we get into these deep topics of discussion that it's not all like doom and gloom. Like we're kind of existing through those realms of what is there, to bring it up to the light, to expose it, to um let everybody know what's really going on. But ultimately, um the outcome is that there's also at the same time a lot of things that we don't have to like worry about, we don't have to stress about at the same time. Like just working on yourself and healing yourself is enough to assist the planetary ascension cycles that we're going through and the changes that need to happen. If there are those of you that awaken to a higher level of mission intent and anchoring of real life changes in the physical, then you step into those roles when you're ready. But ultimately, like doing your own healing work and just recognizing the truth is enough to bring change and is the catalyst that holds the vision of the new earth prophecy to come in and for the timelines to ultimately change. So you are doing enough, we are doing enough, and we're a part of this planetary bio-spiritual evolution that's happening here. And whatever has been done in darkness will come to light, and what has been done in service to self will transform into service, ordered service for the humanitarian collective. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I love you all so much. I'll see you on the next video, and namaste and take care, beautiful souls.